Am I the a-hole for cutting off the financial aid I give my parents? My female parents are in a tight financial situation. Only my father receives a pension and they are unable to work anymore. So, I gave them my credit card, which has a high limit for them to buy what they want without having to keep asking. For example, fictitious values. They always spend between $1,200 to $1,500. An important context. My younger brother and I do not have a good relationship due to irreconcilable differences. We haven't spoken in almost 10 years, and my parents gave up trying to get us closer. This month, the spending on a card came in, and it went up to $3,000. I called my mother to find out what happened, because never in a year has such a large expense been spent. And she started to dodge until she said that my brother and his 2 children came to live with them. Apparently, in the divorce process, the ex got the house and he got the company. They had 50-50 custody of the children, but she ended up giving up and he got full custody. The company, due to his management, is not working out. My ex-sister-in-law carried that company on her back, and he was unable to pay rent, bills, food alone. Pension is still being resolved, but it takes time. So he asked my parents for help. I asked if he helped around the house, and she said she felt sorry for him because he was really tight, so he only helps with the bills and not food. I was annoyed, because I don't mind helping my parents, but I don't want to support food for 1 more adult and 2 children. I've never seen them in my life, so I don't have any affection for them. Sorry. I gave an ultimatum saying either he starts to help with that too, or I cancel the card and start sending restricted money on their account. They would have to be responsible for managing that money until next month. And that I was angry, because even though I didn't care about them spending on a card, they didn't ask if it was okay to spend twice as much because there were 3 more people in the house. My mother started saying that they didn't ask me because they knew I would deny it. That it was inhumane to treat someone who is going through hardship like that. That I know my parents can't afford to stand on their own and they would never turn their backs on a son and 2 grandchildren. She started pressuring me to keep the credit card and that they would try to keep the budget lower so as not to spend so much. I stood by the decision. She didn't want to ask him to help with food and sent the money to their account. They are begging me to release the card, but I don't feel comfortable paying for 3 more people. Am I the a-hole? The money they used to spend was more than enough for them. My mother started saying that they didn't ask me because they knew I would deny it. No kidding. It's your money. They should have asked. Not the a-hole. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. As if because we knew you would say no as an excuse, it makes it worse. You knew what you were doing was wrong and did it anyway. Not the a-hole. Your mother is being entitled, manipulative, and toxic. You have been being extremely kind and all of them are taking advantage of you. If your mother and father had the bare minimum of respect for you, they should have called you to ask if it was okay. They didn't. That they now are trying to manipulate you into continuing is simply inexcusable. If I were you, I would turn off that card immediately, and then I would think about whether or not to send a fixed monthly amount. I was considering saying you should be less hardline about the children, but then I realized, why should you be the one supporting children who have 2 parents who should be capable of supporting them? Honestly, if your brother is living with them, it is his turn to support your parents, not the a-hole. Exactly. Brother is not out of work. Even his living situation is temporarily resolved. Childcare is now between him and his parents versus him and his spouse before. Bearing expenses of the divorce/move, his financial situation is unchanged. There's no reason for parents, aka grandparents, to be entitled to a different amount. Hate to use that word, since it was support and they needed it. Next story. Am I the a-hole for kicking my brother's girlfriend and her kid out of my house at Sunday dinner? I, 31 female, have a great relationship with my family. We get together on most Sundays to do an early dinner. We alternate between my parents hosting or hosting at my husband and my home. I also have a younger brother who is 27. He lives alone. So yesterday, I was hosting dinner. It was going to be my parents. Mom's best friend was up visiting them, brother, my husband and I. I planned a nice meal. A provincial roasted chicken, mashed potatoes, asparagus, roasted delicata squash, stuffing, cranberry sauce, and roasted Brussels sprouts with apples and bacon. About an hour before we planned on eating, my brother texted to let me know his girlfriend Becky, 32, was with him, along with her child Jenny. Not a huge deal, but a little more notice would have been appreciated as both his girlfriend and her kid are vegetarian. I set 2 more plates at the table and figured that with all of the sides, there was enough they could eat. I'll be honest, we don't really care for his girlfriend, but my family has a rule that you don't mess with other people's relationships. My brother is an adult. Becky just seems very opportunistic, and her kid is very weird. They've been together 8 months, have broken up twice, and after 6, asked if she could move into his place because it's in a better school district than her apartment. So here is where it hit the fan, and I might be the a-hole. We sit for dinner, and Jenny asks where April is going to sit. I look around confused. Becky then says that April is her imaginary friend. This kid is 9 turning 10. She starts shrieking that April needs to eat and having a total tantrum. My mom tries to calm things down, suggesting she share her place and seat, which she refuses, demanding a chair and plate. Her mom tells me to just set a spot. My dining room table has 8 chairs all in use. The kid gets louder and everyone else is in shock. She tosses herself on the ground. I get flustered and tell Becky to please get her to stop. Becky then goes on the attack, calling me rude and heartless for not giving in to her kid. She also says that she knows I hate kids and that's why we don't have any. We are child-free, but I like my friends' kids, as they are not rats. She then goes on a rant about how I know they're vegetarian, and it was rude of me to not offer a main that was vegetarian-friendly, and that I put bacon on the Brussels. I snapped back that I didn't know they were coming, and I wasn't the one who invited her. So she's screaming at me in my home, kid is flailing on the ground crying, and I had enough. I told her if she can't respect me in my home, she should leave. She screams at my brother to get up, that they're leaving, and he informs her he is staying. Everyone is shocked, but we eat. My brother silences his phone because she's blowing him up, and he is just shell-shocked. She's now slamming me and my family in social media and accusing us of trying to break them up. Am I the a-hole for not accommodating her and her kid better than asking them to leave? I try to be polite and a generous host, but I had enough. No one has ever been more not the a-hole. This is unreal. I really hope your brother ditches this woman. I don't think she should be allowed back in your home. Maybe I'd say let her come back if she profusely apologizes and publicly posts on social media that she was wrong too. She's like doubling down, claiming we are snobby and she is being treated horribly because she's a single mom. She's not welcome back. My brother is in shock that she pulled this. I don't know why he is with her, cause other than being pretty, she has no redeeming qualities, but looks only go so far. Not the a-hole, and good on your brother for his wise decision. I'm glad he's not enabling her. Be a good listener for him because I suspect his relationship is over and he'll need someone. Honestly, if I were him, when she gave him an actual list of what she wanted for her birthday when they were dating for barely 2 months, I was like, oof, bad sign. She had the nerve to ask for a $1,000 purse. I know the rule in your family is to not interfere in relationships, but few rules are absolute or have no exceptions. I think it's time to sit down with your brother and talk to him about his relationship. Do your best to not come off as being against her, but as being concerned for him. Every problem with her, you need to make it about him. Stuff you don't like personally about her, never bring up. Maybe just offer to listen and then offer advice, but don't give it if he refuses it. Sometimes it takes an outside perspective to see what's really going on. Sometimes it takes a real public incident that can't be sanely denied, like this one, to make people open to talk about things. Just be sure to be there for your brother and make sure he knows that's why you are there. My husband plans to talk to him when they golf Wednesday morning. I feel bad that he was super embarrassed and kept apologizing. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not supporting my husband's kids? My 28 female husband, 35 male, and I have been married for a year. We dated for 2 years prior to that. When we met, I said I didn't want to have kids of my own, but wouldn't mind being in a relationship with someone who has kids. We came to the agreement that he would be solely responsible for his kids, minus the little stuff. I love my husband a lot, and his kids are alright. The older 2 are great, but the younger 2 are a bit much. We have had separate finances our whole relationship, since he has kids and I don't. When I moved into his house, we agreed that I would pay 1/4 of the mortgage, since it's a 4-bed, and 3 of the 4 rooms go to his kids. I pay 1/5 of the utilities, since there's 6 of us living here, myself, and then him and his 4 kids. I also buy my own groceries separate from them since I'm really into fitness and I meal prep once a week. It's just the best way to go about it. This was the agreement we came to 2 years ago and we've stuck to it. Recently, I've gotten a new car, and I guess he's realized my finances vary a bit more from his than they used to. I work as a travel nurse, going to wherever pays the most for about 1/3 of the year. I make pretty good money, and I've saved a lot. I make around $130,000 a year. Meal prepping and responsible spending has helped a lot, and I don't buy myself a lot of luxuries other than my new car. My husband works as a mechanic, and he makes a fair amount considering we live in a low cost of living area, around $40,000 a year. Well, now he wants me to start setting up college fund for his kids, and he wants to have a joint account and pay our bills based off our income. Essentially, he wants me to pay 2/3 of everything related to the household, and him paying the remaining third. I don't think it's fair at all. He decided to have 4 kids, and I decided to not have any, because I would rather spend my time and money on myself. He thinks it's not fair that I can buy myself an expensive car while he still drives an older car that needs work. Ultimately, I ask why he agreed to split what we have now, if he wasn't okay with it, and he just changes the subject. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to support his kids? Now for the top comments. Jesus, so he's below the poverty line and you're at the upper class income threshold. You're married and completely comfortable seeing your stepchildren struggle because your income blocks them from federal student aid or FAFSA that they'd more than qualify for if you weren't in the picture. Financially, he'd be better off if he divorced you and rented your room out to some random person. That's not a marriage. You're friends with benefits at best. Everyone sucks here. I don't understand why you want a relationship where you have discretionary spending, while he can't afford reliable transportation to work. I don't understand why he signed up for that. I don't understand how you intend to live your life completely separate from the 4 children you live with. Are you in the US? I'm going to go with no a-holes here. Though it might also be an everyone sucks here, except the kids, as the kids are liable to get completely screwed over. Going to college is all about how much money your parents make. Doing some Googling, I came back with this. The step-parents' income and assets must be reported on the FAFSA. The problem here is, without your income, the children would be eligible for significant financial aid. Because of your income, they won't be. It's a horrible situation. But if you refuse to ever help, the children get the short end of the stick. His ex-wife makes more money than me, so the kids wouldn't qualify for FAFSA anyways. She won't pay for their college though because she had to pay for her own. She also doesn't really like her kids, but has 50-50 to get out of paying child support. At least 50% of mortgage and utilities would be reasonable, but really 2/3 of each based on income would be better. This has nothing to do with the kids, and is a basic split based on income. You have no obligation to cover college costs, but even without the kids, your current arrangement really stinks. The early arrangement was really unfair. I'm curious who came up with that split. In the event of divorce, I would let him keep the house, so I'm essentially paying for a house that is his. The utilities are based off use. His kids use an obscene amount, and I don't use that much. We compare the amount for weeks he has the kids and I'm there, to weeks he has the kids when I'm not. I use maybe $40 worth of utilities a month, yet I pay about $100. What do you think rent is? I mean, I could easily go and buy my own house. I don't need him to contribute to it. He's benefiting from me being there and he's the one who wanted me to move in. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for not making my daughter apologize for what she said to my father's wife? I, 41 female, have a daughter 16, Sophia, fake name. The background to the incident is that Sophia lives in her own 1-bedroom apartment 3 floors down from my husband and me. She spends most of her time in our apartment, which is where she grew up, but moved downstairs over the summer. The other important background is that Sophia has quite a close relationship with my dad, but no real relationship with his wife, Sally, who she has barely seen throughout her life. Sophia's birthday is next month, and my father will be visiting from abroad for the celebration. He asked if his wife could come, and after asking Sophia, I said yes. Hotels are quite expensive in our city, so I offered for my father and Sally to stay at our apartment, fully expecting that he would decline, which he did. I presumed they would find a hotel and let it at that. A few days later, I got a text from Sally asking if she and my father could stay in my daughter's apartment while they were visiting, so that we can all have our own space. I thought this was impudent, but told her I would ask my daughter and get back to her. Sophia said she didn't want to come and stay upstairs because she was going to have a small party at her apartment one of the days of her birthday week, which she can't do at our apartment, and that her best friend would be staying over 2 nights that week. So I told Sally no, but she persisted, saying hotels were expensive, etc. Still, I told her that Sophia had said no and that was final. The next day, I got a call from my dad saying Sophia had upset Sally and that I needed to speak to her. He said Sophia had sent Sally a rude text and inviting her to the birthday celebrations. I went down to Sophia's and she showed me the conversation. Sally had taken it upon herself to text Sophia asking that she vacate her apartment. Sophia again said no, and Sally kept pushing, saying how she and my father couldn't afford to go if they had to pay for accommodation. The text messages were extremely patronizing and manipulative. Sophia replied saying that my dad could come on his own, and since Sally is the reason they have to stay at a hotel, Sophia didn't mind if she didn't come. Sally didn't reply, but obviously she'd been tattling. After seeing the whole thread, I told my dad the way I see it. Sally attempted to bully a child and she picked the wrong one. I said Sophia had offered a viable solution to the problem, and if they couldn't afford to pay for the trip, my dad was welcome to stay with me. My father has since been texting me multiple times a day, asking that Sophia apologize, and saying I'm making him choose between his wife and his granddaughter, as now Sally is pitching a fit. I don't think I'm making him choose. No one said she couldn't come. But he seems a bit desperate, and I know Sally can be very temperamental over things like this. So I'm beginning to think maybe I should have asked Sophia to apologize. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. It's amazing when a parent actually gathers all of the facts instead of assuming that their child did something wrong. Well done. Indeed, so often it is the norm for adults to take the words of other adults. And am I the only one who thinks this 16-year-old having her own apartment in the same place as her parents is absolutely brilliant? What an amazing way to get her ready to be a grown-up. Not the a-hole. His wife is his problem. Don't teach your child to knuckle under to bullies. If it continues, contact Sally directly. Send a message that trying to bully and manipulate your daughter won't be tolerated.